We've started off poorly. Yeah.
Remember, it's charitable.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
The video people, they volunteer also. All right, well, I'm going to say that nobody else is coming, probably. So, hi, I'm Ruth Cleet, the trustee of the Elsa Soul Foundation, and I'll pass it to Andy, and then he can designate who he's passing it to.
Hi, I'm Andy Krischer. I'm one of the advisory board members. Go ahead, Dick.
I'm Dick Murgatroyd. I'm a member of the advisory board and a longtime friend, and worked with the Elsa Soul for about 25 years.
Frank?
Frank Hicks, board member.
Oh, I'm sorry, Frank.
Hello, Jordan Cleet Kusher, Program Officer for the Elsa Soul Foundation.
Hey, you guys, it's your turn.
Cool. So my name is Alan Edwards. I'm one of the co-executive directors of Groundwork, Ohio River Valley.
And I'm Tanner Yes, the other co-executive director.
Nice to meet you. So I see you all started in 2019, which is a couple years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
How did you happen to start and be under the, I'll just say, umbrella of Groundworks?
Right. So Groundwork is a national network. It's in 21 cities. We are, however, all our own independent 501c3 nonprofits. So we're connected kind of as a family for technical support and born out of the National Park Service in the US EPA. Groundwork Ohio River Valley is an evolution of what used to be Groundwork Cincinnati. Groundwork Cincinnati was around for, Alan, a good 10, 15 years. Alan and I both started there as interns 7, 8 years ago. And in 2019, our models and our success were so replicable that we decided to go regional, include Northern Kentucky, include other parts of the city, not just kind of the west side and the Mill Creek Valley, which historically we've worked in, and even Southeast Indiana.
Okay. What were you involved with prior to this?
Well, similar background. Alan and I are both old Peace Corps volunteers, and we met at UC's School of Planning master's program in DAP. And so, before that, Alan can speak for himself. I've worked with nonprofits ever since I was 18. Again, Peace Corps volunteers. My background is in fisheries and ecological restoration. And all of these things are kind of the ethic that now we've taken into the urban environment to increase diversity, to provide opportunity and income, because those are really the things that we talk about when we talk about equity. Equity gets thrown around a lot these days. And for us, it really means leveling the playing field regarding income and opportunity. So that's why we talk about green jobs and so much, especially for youth and young adults. So that's kind of even my personal background and how Alan and I bring this to our work. And again, we met in grad school and then came to Groundwork. I'll turn over to Alan to talk about his background a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a local kid. I guess I'm not a kid anymore. It's amazing how time flies. But I grew up on the east side and went to Miami University up in Oxford, Ohio, where I studied history and environmental science, and then went into the Peace Corps, like Tanner said. I was there in West Africa learning about sustainable agriculture practices, and permaculture and forestry work was really the area that I kind of became impassioned with. And I've always had a green thumb, if you couldn't tell by the plant conversation I was trying to elicit out of you guys before we started. And coming back to Cincinnati after the Peace Corps and getting a fellowship at DAP where I met Tanner, that's how I got plugged into Groundwork Cincinnati at the time. So that was an internship that basically just blossomed into a career path. And that was starting out working with youth. I was our youth leader. So I was running youth programs that morphed into becoming the education director there and managing all of the education programs. And then once Tanner started and we started our young adult workforce program, which was kind of a natural transition from high school youth employment for for kids. And then once they graduated out of that, we were like, well, now what do? You're not on a traditional high school track. We started this workforce development program for the youth that we've been serving. And like Tanner was saying, that was super, super successful. And that kind of led us to go regional and take our model to a wider audience. And like Tanner was saying, to not be so constrained to the Mill Creek Valley or the west side of Cincinnati, but to offer that to the greater Cincinnati region as a whole. So that's kind of how we've both ended up here, and work really well together and complement each other's strengths, and cover up each other's weaknesses through our strengths. So yeah.
So the Youth Green Jobs Initiative, that's something that you guys kind of came up with, piloted, and started. That's not from like the big umbrella Groundwork national organization, all the 21 different groups do it, or is that kind of your brainchild?
I'm glad you asked that, because it lets us shine a little bit. That's something that we have brought to the national network. So we really piloted that here, and nationwide we're one of the first, I mean, if not the first in my awareness, to start a green jobs program centered around green infrastructure, which, if you're familiar, Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati has all this quote unquote green infrastructure going in. Lick Run is the biggest example in Queen City Avenue, where they've daylit a stream and made this giant park where Queen City Avenue hits the Mill Creek, basically on the west side again. And so we were the first to model this in the nation. And now we've brought this Green Core, is what we call it, workforce to probably a dozen of the 21 other cities across the nation. So that's the cool success that we've been able to spread from that, Jordan. So I appreciate you asking the question that way.
There are youth programs. So what we call our green team is pretty standard for most of the trusts around the country. But like Tanner was saying, the take and the approach that we've brought to that kind of youth engagement is extremely unique to our program. And like Tanner was saying, we've kind of exported that to the trusts around the country, which is really kind of an amazing accomplishment for us, and we're very proud of. So, yeah.
How do you collaborate with Green Umbrella?
Extensively. I should note too, for everyone, I've got visuals pulled up to at any time if you all want to dig into some
Sure.
some slides and stuff.
Here, let me get you co-hosting. Okay.
Okay, and I'll answer your question first, Ruth.
All right.
Thank you, and we can move to that whenever appropriate. So Green Umbrella, we work hand in glove with on a number of things. And how we prioritize our work here is basically a data-driven process we call climate safe neighborhoods. So I always brag on some of our youth have better resumes than I do already, because through our networks that they've been able to intern with NASA. One of our young ladies was just selected out of 600 people across the country to go live and work in Yellowstone this year as their Yellowstone Youth Conservation Corps representative. And so we have all these amazing resources, and we call this project Climate Safe Neighborhoods. We're starting in Cincinnati, trying to build out in Northern Kentucky and other parts of the county here in Ohio, but it's a data-informed, basically series of maps that blends socioeconomics, other demographics like race and income, and then environmental things like tree canopy, surface temperature, flooding, all these risks, and we can really put some data to the things that we know. These neighborhoods suffer from higher temperatures or whatever, right? These people, their basements are flooded, whatever it is. So Green Umbrella has been a huge part of that process, Climate Safe Neighborhoods. That informs their work and ours. And then we're able to do action, which is, again, these youth programs. So as Alan said, where do we host them? Where do we have job sites? We do it in the places that need it most. And it's not just like kind of the hippie green outside stuff. It's let's go work hard. Let's go make money. Let's learn how to work as a young person straight up. And let's connect the environment to your quality of life so that you're being paid to make your life better through cleaner water, cleaner air, whatever. And then of course the environment is benefiting. So Green Umbrella is a huge partner of ours. We're actually just one of, Alan can talk about this more. Alan, do you mind talking about the green schoolyards and how we collaborate with Green Umbrella on the Green Schoolyard project?
Yeah, actually, your mind reader, I literally just pulled that up to talk about that. So Green Umbrella has been spearheading the CPS Outdoors group, so Cincinnati Public Schools Outdoor Initiative, to try and kind of galvanize Cincinnati Public into engaging outdoors with their youth. So that's a group of, most of the environmental nonprofits, practitioners, anyone who does programming in Cincinnati, the greater Cincinnati region. And we partnered, Groundwork specifically partnered with Green Umbrella, Cincinnati Parks, CPS, the city, on a Children and Nature Network grant that we received literally like 2 weeks ago, which is a really awesome accomplishment. And the goal of that is to, all that to say that we're partnering very, very closely with Green Umbrella on basically all of our initiatives. So whether it's green jobs from our Green Corps, whether it's our school-based programs, whether, whatever it is, Green Umbrella is one of our main partners and friends in the region. So we're really excited to get this Green Schoolyards. It's a technical assistance grant from Children and Nature Network, kind of kicked off. I think our first meeting is next week. So it's ourselves, Imago, CPS, Parks, and Green Umbrella. We're the main partners on that. So they understand our model and are really excited about trying to bring the employment aspect of the Green Team, the Green Corps, to the model that they're trying to kick off throughout the Cincinnati Public School Network. And that's specific to Cincinnati Public, but the idea is to pilot this and then, take that show on the road, so to speak.
And I'll add in there, Ruth, because I think this is always a good question about partnerships. Like, yes, a lot of the work we do aligns with their metrics and their goals. But in turn, a lot of what we do with them or whoever else is push them, right? Challenge them to think about how their goals could be done differently, especially in our corner of the world here, more equitably, more just as it relates to environmental, social justice things. So they've been an amazing partner in that honest feedback between both parties. And that's, we take that pretty serious when we talk about partnership and relationship building. A lot of it for us is that friendly challenge or making each other stronger.
All right, well, at least 3 people on our board, including myself, have grown up in Park Hills, Kentucky. And I noticed that you mentioned Park Hills as a collaborator. So tell us what's going on there that we don't know.
Yeah, so the Duke Foundation has gotten to know us a little bit through this combination of workforce for youth and young adults and then improving public spaces. They had been in contact with Park Hills because on the southern end of Devou Park, there's been some development near Audubon Road, I believe, if you're familiar. And there's a group of residents there trying to take a ½ acre of woods next to a new development that is now pretty much suffers from a lot of erosion and a lot of invasive species, especially honeysuckle, right? That I'm sure you're all familiar with. And the Duke, that group of residents went to the Duke Foundation and said, hey, we'd like some funding, a small amount of funding to help restore this. We want to bring it back to like post-urbanized form. We want it to look like it looked like 200 years ago. And Duke said, great, we have the perfect partner for you all. And they directed those funds to us. So now we've had our first site visit with residents on the ground there to go look at this place, which is amazing. I've never seen a density of trout lilies in this tiny little ½ acre as this cool place in Park Hills. And so our Green Corps, our young adult workforce, is going to come up with a year-long proposal and management plan where we integrate their volunteer effort. And of course, they're the true stars here, but some of the backbone and the heavy machinery and the chainsawing and all that type of stuff with our young adult workforce. So it's a model where we've built on a lot, whether it be Madisonville or Mount Airy here in Cincinnati and Dayton, Kentucky. We work extensively and do a lot of work with that city and their residents, and even in Covington a lot in the past. So we're really excited about getting this in Park Hills because it's going to be such a special little gem, a ½ acre piece of like really great wildflower and woodland next to Devou Park.
Okay.
Hannah, did you say you did have slides or something you wanted to share?
Yeah, so thanks, Jordan. I have basically kind of some intro stuff about Groundwork. If you want to skip that, I can. Okay, great. We'll do that. I'll go fast. I also have kind of some bread and butter stats and program highlights that really relate to the requests that we have from your all's foundation. But I'll share my screen and get right into it. Please stop me at any time. Okay. So this is just some intro stuff, everyone. And I'm assuming you can hear me and see this. Great. This is kind of some of the rationale for what we do, or why we do what we do, and why we focus in urban areas. You know, most people, 80% of the country live in urban areas. It's increasingly diverse. That's why the National Park Service and so on started Groundwork. The modern environmental movement, however, is not diverse. And there's a big autopsy of not only nonprofits, but government sectors and for-profit industry leaders in the green world that called the Green 2.0 report that has shown this, and we use a lot as reference. And then as we know with housing, with public health, whatever it is, climate change is not equally affecting us all, right? If you live in a neighborhood that has all concrete, no trees, you're suffering potentially 20-degree hotter summer days than other parts of the city or county or region that have more trees, for example. And then really as it relates to our youth, how does growing up with your backyard, being a public health hazard, being afraid to go outside, whatever it may be, how does that relate to your feelings towards nature? And for Groundwork, how do we reverse that? A quick background, and sorry for the fuzzy picture, we're born out of the National Park Service and the US EPA, who realized during their millennial 2000 report, oh crap, like we're not reaching people in urban areas, black, white, brown, yellow, whatever, just in cities. And we need to have that for funding from Congress, for popular support. So they went to the UK in Great Britain and they brought back this Groundwork model and established it across the country. And of course, here's us, Groundwork, Ohio River Valley. You've met us a little bit here, and we're local, and this is kind of our model and what we do. This is an example of the climate safe neighborhoods output. This is a map of Cincinnati, and I'll show you one we just started on Northern Kentucky here in a bit. But you can see the red is hot on your left, and on your right, it's a tree canopy, and it lines up, right? It's no surprise. The darker areas, which is all concrete, those are way hotter, up to 25 degrees hotter. And then you layer on social, demographic, income, socioeconomic info on this, and you can see how this plays out in the real world. And we know most of these things, right? Residents living in these areas know most of these things, but this arms them with the data to advocate for themselves. And it also helps us prioritize where we do our projects, where we have our workforce, and where we run our programs. Going even further, we've created all these cool vulnerability and heat indexes. And this is also led by our green team youth employees who are involved in this and have actually interned with NASA, a few of them. And so what does all this look like for us? I don't want to get into jargon or the political correctness of equity and so forth. I don't care about that, right? Groundwork doesn't care if you're using the right words or the wrong words. We care about actual opportunity, income often, because that's how we boil down equity. And it is shown in our programs. So Green Team, as Alan mentioned, is the high school. They are, I'm going to get into some metrics about them in a second, but we're going to do more than 100 high school youth employees this year, and they're bettering themselves and public land throughout the region all at the same time while making money and doing all sorts of cool things and having all sorts of cool outcomes like this. They work on fresh food access, they work on recreation, of course, biodiversity and land management and conservation, environmental conservation and restoration. And I'm going to attempt to play this. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't, just shout at me, but I think hopefully you'll be able to hear this.
This summer, while working with the Green Team,
what impacted me most was probably...
So to sum it up, I would probably say it was...
a lot of work, a lot of hard work.
I had a lot of fun. I thought I couldn't do some of the stuff that we did, but I did what we all did. So I'm proud of myself for that.
It was like a struggle to me, because like I was new at some things.
It was fun. I learned a lot.
It was pretty fun, and I think it was a unique experience because I've never seen anything like this job. Like nobody I know has a job like this. They work at like McDonald's and stuff. So yeah, I just feel like this was really different and once in a lifetime opportunity.
I definitely didn't think a lot about the things that I worked on. Like I never thought about like gardens and communities, stuff like in parks. That would never crossed my mind before, so it was definitely interesting to learn about these new things for me. And I just think it was good to learn about environmental justice and all that things, just know about the fights that people have been going through, the struggles. It's definitely good to know.
I have learned more about environmental justice, how important nature is to different communities, how to make stairs, how to build trails, and about environmental problems, especially in my community.
Kind of like have to make sure this kind of like slope, because when the rain comes down, we don't want the rain, in the middle of the trail. So I'm just trying to make it kind of slope so the water keeps on going down that way.
And it was a lot of hard work, but I mean, there was a reward at the end because we get to see how everything is coming together and see all our work pay off. So.
How much very so will be back. So get ready for Mila Part 2. But I had a best summer ever working with y'all. So.
Thanks, Jamila. I'm so glad you were here.
Okay, I have no idea how that went, but I hope you could hear it. I'm sorry if you couldn't. But that gives you a little insight, and hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did, about not only our workforce programs and what it means and does for communities and individuals and youth especially, but the big takeaway there for Groundwork right now is that we've grown extensively during the pandemic. That used to be, when Alan and I were at Groundwork Cincinnati, a 15 or 20 youth program a year. Again, we're going to reach over 100 youth employees in the fall sometime, and that will exceed our goal even before the year's up. And for those young people who might not be college bound, this is the program that Jordan asked about, Green Corps, which is a professional urban conservation corps. The youth and the young adults get all sorts of certifications that may help them with graduation or may help them get a job with a different organization. And so these Green Corps folks, they work alongside park units, they work alongside for-profit businesses. They do all sorts of cool contracting projects and learn how to run a business. So there's all sorts of skill sets for them. And this is the thing that we spread nationwide. And then, they get out and do all sorts of fun projects, trail building, recreation, rain gardens, green infrastructure. And this is kind of our theory of change kind of thing. It's not just being outside, it's about active lifestyles or food or community stewardship, all of those things that come together. I'll say, just so you know, we've extended some of this climate safe stuff in Northern Kentucky, again, with NASA's help. We've got Kenton County here, and we're working on Campbell County. So this is some surface area temperature work. And then while I have you captive here, this is our recent export and output of our green team. So during 2020, you can see some of the amazing metrics that the young folks did. 10,000 pounds of invasive species removed, 7,000 pounds of waste. They planted 4,100 trees, installed 50 amenities, everything from benches to, again, big rain gardens or bioswales. And we're going to plan to have over 100 youth 2021, and that is in partnership with Cincinnati Parks, Great Parks Hamilton County, Metropolitan Sewer District, and our good friends and partners, Brick Gardens. And I have to highlight some of the young people here. Amaya in the top is the one who is chosen to go to Yellowstone. Anna, one of our best and brightest ever from Northern Kentucky here in Bellevue, was just accepted to Berea. So she'll be going to school for free and studying at their Sustainability Environmental Science College. She's also going to be a youth leader this summer, just kind of extending what she does and the opportunities that they have here at Groundwork. So I will stop sharing and stop talking. Awesome.
So I have a question. I'm trying to triangulate the information in your LOI and your grant application. In the LOI, it said that you will use the Elsa Sewell grant money to supplement staff time and project materials. 5,000 will be spent to pay youth crew members, and the other 5,000 for materials like pollinator plants for youth projects and so forth. Then in the grant application, you said that when we were talking about other funders, you said that the program is basically funded at this point, and the Elsa Sewell money would be surplus. And then I saw a list. Are these the funders that have funded the project so far?
Yeah, thanks for asking, because things have changed. Even in the number of youth we plan to employ since the LOI to the main application. So the good news on that is we have for the summer we have funding for 64 youth employees. We've already had 35 this spring, and then we'll have another 30 something in the fall, right? So we have all that funding is taken care of for the youth employees. So that's different. The holes that we have to plug are some of the youth leader time, which is the staff that lead the youth, and then materials for specialized projects. We got increased funding because Metropolitan Sewer District, Parks, and Great Parks of Hamilton County has said that they want the Groundwork model to be what leads and trains young people in their summer job programs. So that's how we've been able to explode this year. But the whole, which has been great, but now we're having to increase staff capacity that we did not plan for. So there's 2 youth leaders, what is it, that we have to do that we haven't found funding for yet. And then again, specialized projects. And the list that you held up, Ruth, that is not exclusive just to the Green Team program. And forgive me for maybe not making this more clear, but the ask now is kind of just to help with that Green Team expansion, which is the 64 youth this summer. That list is funders of all sorts of varieties. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I was just to echo and kind of back up what you're saying as far as the youth leader positions and the support that this funding would go towards is for the management of the youth. So honestly, the biggest lift was getting the youth salaries. I mean, you can see that in the application. I mean, that's like $80,000 that we've had to, hit up partners for and whatnot. And the Cincinnati Park Board and MSD and Great Parks of Hamilton County are super thrilled about the model that we're bringing. And honestly, this year is going to be kind of a benchmark for us as far as metrics and numbers and output. So we're really excited about that. But because of that kind of explosion, it's patching a few holes in the programmatic staff to implement that. And so that's where
He froze.
I
think we have 2 that. So
Alan, can you repeat your last 15 seconds? You froze.
Oh shit, sorry.
you said, I can't remember the last words you said, but you froze the last 15 seconds or so.
Yeah, so essentially we're trying to patch these 2 positions that would allow us to manage several of these teams since we've had this explosion of support from our other funders. So that would be specifically what this funding would go towards. That and so I think the 5 and 5 is still an accurate number for the youth leaders' salaries, and then the projects that some of them would be working on. So I don't think it's changed drastically from the original LOI to the application, but the situation has changed, absolutely.
So I noticed that it appears your largest funder is L'Oreal. So what values do you share with L'Oreal that they would want to invest so much in your project?
Right. So they actually help with the Green Core more than any of the Green Team stuff. And if we were to put together all the Green Team support, which does not directly pass through us, that would be way larger than them. And it helps us to keep the program going. L'Oreal, however, is a big supporter because of basically 90+% of their products are made of water. And the restoration and conservation work that we do, which is community driven, like in Park Hills or youth and young adult green jobs, helps to water quality and basically overall quality of nature. So because they have a giant plant in Frankfurt, which you might be familiar with, they've chosen some community projects and partners to help with, and their support has been going to Northern Kentucky water quality and land restoration projects, mostly with the Green Core, again, the young adults.
As a relatively new-ish, I guess, organization and program as a whole, are you guys starting to track kind of the long-term outcomes of the students, the green youth people that kind of, they're either post-college plans or post-high school plans, whatever that might be? And I guess I was gonna say, do you guys have a plan clearly you guys do because you guys are shaking your head yes. So
Well, it's the perfect question, and it's a chance to talk about one of our weaknesses, right? Because yeah, we track the heck out of our kids, but how you do that these days is like TikTok and Facebook and stuff like that. It's hard to nail them down. We do a good job of keeping up with them because I think they've found a lot of value and family and all of that in our working with us. So that's great, and we can see where they're going. And I always tell the youth, like, we're not trying to make an army of environmental scientists, right? I really don't care about that. It's if they learn an ethics for conservation or to care about the world and stewardship, and then learn how to work and be just like a productive member of society. That's number one. However, I think our weakness on this, which we're trying to dig into with the school districts that we work with, is how is it helping youth more short term? How is working with us in the summer affecting potentially their grades pre and post? I'm not sure about that yet. We're trying to get some of that data and dive into that. But what I can tell you is that the way we've designed our programs for a young person, especially in Cincinnati public schools, where they have multiple ways of graduation. So if you're not the best, and I'm not saying this is good or bad model, that's something for the state and Cincinnati Cincinnati schools to work out, but they have multiple ways to graduate. And we do know that graduation leads to better quality of life, period, right? For anybody. So as part of our workforce, you can get a number of certifications that help you graduate, even if you're not the world's best academic. So those are the things we're trying to do short term, while not knowing the detail that we actually want to know.
I would also add to that, this year, and amidst the pandemic and everything, we were actually able to start an after-school Green Team youth employment program that paralleled and kind of worked with the school on curriculum and projects to where, our programs were supplementing kind of the lack of a lot of face time in school because of the pandemic. And that's a brand new project this year. I think the goal with that is, like you're saying, with metrics and seeing how our programming affects the kids who are employed by us, and then tracking those graduation rates, seeing what they're doing after this. And clearly this year is a weird year to start any program and start looking at the results of anything, because I mean, you could throw, the pandemic has thrown a monkey wrench in everybody's plans, right? We don't need to belabor that point. But I think the setup that we have in the 3 schools that we're starting this program at, Aiken High School, Lighthouse Community School in Madisonville, and Euler School in Lower Price Hill, they are very strategically chosen. They are strategically partnered with teachers and groups in the school to complement that, which I think is a really, really important aspect of this program during the school year. Clearly during the summer, it's a little different, but that same relationship exists. And the sites that we've chosen are specific in that they are close to a high school, and that we can work hand in hand with teachers on making sure that if they don't have the time to hit X, Y, or Z curriculum modules, we can help do that outside of the school day, either in summertime or after school in the youth employment program. So while this is new, I think the model is kind of in line with what Green Umbrella sees as a valuable asset in our programming and why they want to partner with us on this Children in Nature Network grant. It is unique and very promising in moving forward.
I want to throw out 4 more names to you, and you tell me if you do anything with them or not. Keep America Beautiful, or Keep Cincinnati Beautiful.
Yeah, extensively. They just came and extensively, right? What does that mean? Sorry, Ed. They just came and joined us for our Climate Safe Neighborhoods Equity Advisory Group. So especially their vacant lot programs, again, our Green Corps have worked together and shared grant opportunities with them so we can double up our impact. So it's been a great partnership with them. And then we also, the residents that we work with, especially in neighborhoods that have high vacant lot areas, we connect to Keep Cincinnati Beautiful. And because the residents work with us and have things like a neighborhood level plan around climate change, that makes them more competitive to get help from Keep Cincinnati Beautiful. So they're great partners over there.
Okay,
we work with them on their volunteering as well. So our Madisonville kind of presence we're helping, they're sending volunteers a couple of times this month and next month to help out in beautification efforts, which I know is one of their main things, is keeping communities looking good. So we're working with them on multiple fronts.
Yeah.
All right, how about Ohio River Foundation?
Not directly right now. Alan, we've done education programs with them in the past, correct? Yeah,
Yeah.
so we've gone and supplemented some of the things they've done, especially around career days for the young people that work with them on Who Works the River. You might be familiar, they do a big event, usually every year, where you get out on the B&B riverboat and the kids are exposed to green careers. So we will go do water quality. Yes, Ruth.
There's two. You might be confusing them. There's Foundation for Ohio River Education, and there's Ohio River Foundation.
Oh, then I think, Alan, am I confusing them?
Yeah, 4 is the one I think we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It's not Orsanko, is it, Ruth? Is that the same thing you're talking about, or no?
No.
No, then I don't think we are familiar even. Is that correct, Alan?
Is it
Ohio
the
River
Newport
Foundation?
Aquarium one? I don't know.
Yep.
So no, we're not. That's a clear question. Clearly not.
That's okay. How about the Wave Foundation?
The Wave, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah, I think they were involved in some water quality initiatives we were talking about. We haven't been directly working with them, but we've had conversations with them to try and strategize about water quality in Northern Kentucky, but not directly.
Okay, well, that's all my name dropping. So
I got one more name. You work with Common Orchard too. I look like I saw on your website.
Oh yeah, we did. We did
Yeah.
Chris's first builds. Again, we provide so much human power and workforce that Chris's Common Orchard project's first ever builds of vacant lots we did.
Yeah.
I have just a quick practical question for you. Like on your green team, your summer program for the high school kids, I guess, that you want to have about 100 of them, you said, this year. That's a paid position, you said. Is that where I read you pay them maybe about $15 an hour? And how long is that? Is that Monday through Friday? And is that a 9 to 5 work day that they're getting paid, or 3 days a week? What?
Yeah, so the young adults start and get up to $15 an hour, but the high schoolers are at 11. So that's what the high schoolers are at. And they work 24 hours a week, 8 weeks in the summer, not counting the spring and fall after school, which is the same rate of pay, but just 3 hours after school a day.
Alan, you touched on it. Sorry, Dick, go ahead.
I question, I guess, did you do any work with the area planning folks in the Northern Kentucky area at all?
Yeah, so PDS, the area planning, and OKI helped us most recently with this really cool NASA collaboration, that map I threw up about surface temperature. And Alan and I, because we come from a planning background, are constantly bugging them about things because planning is, a mile wide and inch deep, but it allows us a lot of insights into systems that people might not be making connections to and different funding sources. So we do a lot of mapping and data stuff that helps us out.
That's good, because I know that there's a lot of effort in their part to get involved in this area. I've served on the OKI board and also on the Northern Kentucky Area Planning Commission.
Yeah.
I knew that there was a lot of focus in that area, especially I know the Licking River is another area that there's a lot of attention being paid to. I think there's another study coming up soon on the Licking River and recreational abilities of Licking River.
The Bourbon Trail. yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're part of the cohort of all those partners.
Good.
Close was your relationship with like civic and city leaders? I was looking on your website and I saw like in the city of Cincinnati, like the Office of Environment and Sustainability. And when Cranley and all them wanted to make this green plan for the city, did they ask for your input? Did you have anything to do with any of that for the city's plan for the future?
Yes, and more and more and more, especially as it relates to the next green plan, which is going to be in 2 years. So the first one or the second one, I believe it was, that you're familiar with and probably referring to, we were part of the whole buildup. And then afterwards, we said, you know what, let's talk about all the voices and people who were not in the room because of whatever barriers, right? They had jobs, they have kids, and they can't do after work meetings, whatever it is. And they said, oh yeah. And the current climate safe neighborhoods program, again, that we're piloting is going to be used to inform all of the next Green Cincinnati plans. So we're working super tight and closely with the Office of Environment and Sustainability for that procedural equity, if you will, to make sure we reach voices and people who have not been engaged in all of this stuff in the past.
Alan, you mentioned a couple minutes ago about keeping programs kind of close to those like 4 or 5 area high schools that you mentioned. Overall, do you find transportation being an issue? Because obviously you're working in Park Hills, the West Side, Madison. I mean, you missed a bunch, but I just always know transportation is always an issue. I just didn't know if you experienced that or if you have a way to overcome that or whatnot.
No, that's a really great observation. And yes, transportation is always an issue. And that was honestly one of the rationales behind, one amongst many, for focusing around these hubs. And for the after school program, we've done programming in the past after school where kids had to hop on, the bus, go downtown to Government Square, get a connector, and then go out. And it took them 2 hours to get to the job site. And at that point, it's not worth their time. It's a giant pain in the butt. It's a huge burden. So one of the reasons that we've selected these sites is we have those established relationships with the school, the teachers, and the kids can walk out of the building after school. They're at the job site. These schools also happen to have some amazing natural amenities on site or very, very close by to where they're immediately doing programming and working on trails or water quality or orchards on vacant lots. All of these things are at their fingertips from the school. So it eliminates that. Now for the summer program, that's a different animal because they're not in school, right? But at that point, you're not leaving school, having to go downtown and transfer across town. You're going straight there. So and a lot of these sites are close to schools or parks. So the transportation isn't as big of an issue, but transportation is always an issue. It always is, especially with the groups of youth that we're working with. These kids don't have cars and, their parents work 2 jobs and getting to the work site is a pain. So yeah, great observation. And yes.
How young of a child do you work with? And do you plan to go younger?
Gosh, it's like you are in our meetings here. So 14 to 26 is our workforce. Again, and excuse our jargon, but 14 to 18 is Green Team, 18 to 26 is Green Corps. We are finally being dragged and pushed into working with younger kids. It is not our forte, but we are having some good partners bring us to the table here in the form of Imago and Roberts School. And we're going to do what is it, Alan? Middle school, like a little kid trail building week. So, we're going to involve them in the science and the engineering of trail building and erosion and sustainable design, and then get them out there with tools, and we'll see what happens. It's a completely new thing for us, but it is a criticism about our model because we talk a lot about pipeline and this and that, starting at 14 and then getting them into school or a job or whatever. And I would say it's a fair criticism to say, well, why aren't you starting even younger? And then my answer to that is, well, we're not going to do it because I don't even like little kids. But we have amazing partners who are great at that. And if we can supplement Imago, for example, if you're familiar with them, a great partner organization here in Price Hill, who does great work with young kids in schools that are near or around ours, then we can build out, again, this pipeline, if you will, even better. And we don't have to recreate the wheel.
Yeah, and the words out of my mouth, Tanner. I was just going to say, there's no point in us trying to, recreate the wheel when we have such amazing partnerships already in place with groups who are doing amazing programming for that demographic and age group. So the Roberts one, we're working in tandem with Imago and some of the other providers for Roberts Academy to put on this week-long trail school during their summer session, which is going to be crazy this year because of COVID and everything. But our specialty is in older kids. So having that that base of knowledge through the Imago staff and program managers basically alleviates us having to recreate the wheel. So we'll partner with anyone. That's kind of our kind of modus operandi, is we'll work with anybody, whatever makes the project work best and provide the best opportunity for the communities and the youth that we're working with. So, we're not glory seekers and it's got to have Groundwork's name on it. I mean, it does a little bit, but, we're more about having the tangible result at the end with the community happy and youth with jobs and education. So that's really our thing.
Do you, with the schools you work with, do they create a complementary program within the school where these kids are learning not only how to do it, but why they're doing it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And so I'm gonna highlight Aiken for a second here, because that's one of our newest partners and probably one of the most exciting, because Aiken High School has adopted a career and technical education approach within the Cincinnati public school model, where they are focusing on agriculture and natural resource management. So they have, they have an interim position right now, the teacher who's managing it, but they're bringing on a full-time staff to manage this program. And we'll be collaborating with them to provide those opportunities to the youth outside of the classroom. So we'll be working with them in the classroom as well to kind of best serve the campus. And Aiken also has 60 acres, which is crazy, and abuts Mount Airy Forest. Like it's a crazy dream of a site for anyone who's involved in environmental education. But in that sense, we are working with them in the classroom to provide that curriculum, to supplement anything that they don't have the time to do, or testing gets in the way or whatever, to provide that extra kind of step to provide the hands-on experience the kids need to really grasp whatever concept it is. I mean, they have chickens there now, and I mean, they're talking about putting animals in the sense of like sheep or goats. I don't know how CPS is going to feel about that. I think they have some regulations about that, but whatever. That's their problem. But our goal is to take the curriculum and project-based education that we have and provide that to the teachers as an avenue to achieve the modules and curriculum that they need to prove to the state that they're hitting.
Good.
And that's happening at Euler and Lighthouse as well, but Aiken is the clearest example of kind of from point A to point B that we're working with.
I would think you'd probably see more of that happening in schools as time goes on.
Well, and that ties, absolutely, that ties beautifully into the Green Umbrella CPS Outdoor Committee that we're on, where they are CPS is now actively trying to provide these opportunities to youth outdoors. And honestly, that puts Groundwork in this amazing position to provide guidance and insight into what works best and what doesn't, as this kind of picks up steam. And the grant that I was talking about from the Children in Nature Network, and it's a technical assistance grant. So over the course of the next year, we'll be talking about best practices, talking to people across the country and how they've implemented this on a district-wide kind of front from other cities, because I think there's 27 cities that applied for the grant, and how many did they get? I don't know, maybe 10. So we'll have this cohort to kind of bounce ideas off and see what works best across the country.
I got one more name. Do you do anything with the Green Acres Foundation?
I used to work there. Not so much. We have some loose connection with them through their water quality monitoring program. The Saturday Stream Snapshot that they do on the second Saturday of every month, March through October, I think, is depending on the weather. So one of the projects we're working on for our young adult program is partnering with the Little Miami Conservancy, or Little Miami Inc., whatever their new name is, to do water quality, real-time water quality monitoring up and down the Little Miami with some really high-tech equipment. So to Tanner's point that these kids that we're putting through our program have better resumes than us, they're using cutting-edge equipment to real-time monitor dissolved oxygen. I think we're adding nitrates to it, and a couple other parameters on the Little Miami. But Green Acres is also doing that, like I said, on the second Saturday. So we're trying to collaborate with them to compare the results that their volunteer samplers are out doing to the results that the SONs that are permanently placed in the Little Miami are gathering the data. So we can compare and contrast the data to see what's working, what's not. Then they're in the process of applying to the Ohio EPA for their qualified data collector level 2 status or something like that. And the goal with our program is to piggyback on that. And if you can't tell, I've run water quality monitoring programs before, and I'm very passionate about it. The goal is to do that for our program and on the Little Miami with Little Miami Inc. And there's a couple grants that are coming down the pipe with the US EPA. We would, and it was one of the reasons we were talking to the WAVE Foundation, was how do we bring that to Northern Kentucky on the Licking or in the Bank Lake watershed or something like that, is kind of one of the dreams we have to expand our programming into Northern Kentucky.
We have a school over here in Northern Kentucky on Turkeyfoot Road. I think it's a Cahill school, I'm not sure. Elementary school. It was built several years ago now, but I know that the architect made that school a very environmentally positive school. And they've used a lot of new processes to make that school much more environmentally friendly, I guess to say. It's been interesting because I think the children there, I think, are learning about, as when they go to that school, that's one of the things they learn about what that school has and why it's different from other schools. So it seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really unique things about working with Green Umbrella, working with the CPS Outdoors Committee, is realizing that, I mean, and CPS went through a campus revamp 15 years ago where they implemented a lot of green infrastructure on some of their campuses. So some of these schools already have this stuff. And so Euler is another example of this. They have a green roof, or a roof that's compatible for a green roof. So it's one of the reasons that we're working there, is we're realizing a rooftop garden. If you guys are familiar with Rothenburg in Over the Rhine, it's in the model of that. So kind of maximizing and realizing the potential of some of these schools where we're working is super beneficial to the kids. They're able to walk out during recess, or their science teacher is able to take them out and talk about biology, looking at propagation of different plants, talking about green infrastructure and water infiltration, that the sedum plants that are on the roof are so, like, all of that is amazing. And that is one of the things that we bring to the table, is the programming and the curriculum to be able to have teachers and administrations be able to maximize the campus they have. So that's one of the things, and one of the reasons that Green Umbrella likes us, is because we bring that to the table, and there's nobody else doing that in the city.
I don't have any other questions. Do you guys have any questions for us, or anything we should have asked that we didn't?
Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, no, we're appreciative of the time. If you would have asked us how the hell we plan on making this a sustainable thing after the pandemic, I had an answer prepared for you, but I'm not going to give you the chance now, Jordan. Because we've had such a big increase, and that's something we're thinking about. If I were sitting as a grant funder looking at Groundwork and said, how are you guys going to pull this off? You've gone, what I've told you now, from 15, 20 kids to 100. How do you make that work? The reason is because we've decentralized, and we've taken a strength on strength partnership approach, where a lot of the infrastructure is actually not on us. We're using public parks, we're using their resources, we're using their tools, we're using their land. That means Groundwork doesn't have to incur the liability, have to add new spaces, have to do any of this stuff. We're bringing our ethic and our special model, that is fueled from this national thing into them, because they find that as super beneficial as it relates to community engagement. And again, diversifying kind of our movement and getting more people involved. So it's that's why I think we can sleep at night, because we know this is a huge thing, like a huge increase for us, but we know that pandemic or not, it's a sustainable model that we can build out and sustain for many years to come. And hopefully, beyond, again, as Alan is saying, regionally, not just Cincinnati Parks, as we're already working with the county and across into Northern Kentucky as well, Southeast Indiana.
Well, I do have one other question. You have our old grant form. So there was a question that we added to our new one, which you don't know about, but can you maybe tell us, I know you have a good support on foundation grants, but what about individual giving?
Oh, heck yeah. And you all are helping us with that. It's really exciting, especially for me right now. Alan and I kind of divvy up work. This Network for Good opportunity from you all, we are seeing as a major, major revenue opportunity. We have a great story. We have great energy. We're young, all this, but we're not strategic in the way that we ask for money from people. So every time we do a newsletter, we get, small amounts of money trickling in. Imagine if we actually put some time and software through Network for Good into that. So thank you. I mean, thank you on two sides of the coin here for helping us get started with that. And we are actively learning and understanding that this could be a big piece of our revenue pie, if you will.
So you don't have much individual giving right now, right?
Oh, I think $20,000 a year is kind of what we do. And we only do one ask at the end of the year. And now we have the opportunity to get more sophisticated.
What percentage of your overall budget is that 20,000?
Last year we were almost 700,000 for our organizational budget. Last fiscal year, I think we're going to be close to $1 million. Our fiscal year is June, July, so we're going through that planning right now. So 20,000 out of around 700,000 or 600,000, whatever that is. 10%.
4%.
10-ish%. Yeah. Or yeah.
4%.
Four. Oh, four. Yeah, not much. So it's a huge opportunity zone for us.
Okay, well, our board meets at the end of this month, actually in a couple weeks on April 29th. And we usually like to get back to everybody within a week of the meeting. So the first week of May, you'd be hearing back from us.
Yeah, thank you all so much for the time. And regardless, again, it's great to be partnered with you in any way that takes shape. And we look forward to, talking for a long time to come.
Okay, thanks for taking
Great,
time.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.